Okay, so here we're looking at inequations and solving them. The questions they start you off with in the exercise is they provide you with this. They ask you to solve this for x. Then they ask you to sketch this, so you get an idea of what this equation looks like being less than or equal to 0, or what parts of this equation or this graph are less than or equal to 0, and then what parts of the same thing are greater than 0. So what we're going to do, we're going to solve for this first. Now, looking at this, I can say it factorises easily because we've got -3. So factors of -3 that add up to -2 are 1 and -3. So we'll say x plus 1, x minus 3. Hope you can't hear Mrs. Markle because she's very loud. And then we've got x, so then from there we imply that x is equal to -1 and x equals +3. So now when we sketch that, that's the part of the graph we're interested in. We're interested in the x-intercepts. So we're going to sketch that. So -1 and +3. So it looks like that. So I'm going to put that here. -1, and I'm going to say here 3. Whoops, I'll draw the 3 better. It looks a bit funny. So that's what we're doing. Now over here, that's the sketch. You don't have to worry about the y-intercept. Don't have to worry about the turning point. Okay, it's these we're interested in. Why are we interested in those? Well, because of this situation here. It wants to know where it is less than 0. So whereabouts is this graph equal to or less than 0? Well, let's start with the less than 0. Whereabouts is it less than 0? Where is it below the x-axis? Here, this, between -1 and 3. So we could say that it is between -1 and, let's write it with mathematical notation. That x has got to be an element between -1 and 3. Now, because it is, so that's where it's less than 0, we can say that's where it's below. Now, because it's equal to 0, we also know that it's equal to 0 at -1 and 3. So we can say square brackets, x is an element of all the numbers between and including -1 and 3. So I'm going to change colours and bring us on to the last question. It's saying, where is this greater than 0? So where is this graph greater than 0, or where is it above the x-axis? Where is it above the x-axis? Well, it is above the x-axis here and here. So let me draw that in yellow. So here, it's above the x-axis, and here, it's above the x-axis. So what values of x is that? Well, it is values of x which is less than -1, and it is values of x which are greater than 3. So we'd say that x is an element of all the real numbers apart from -1 and +3, but we use round brackets by saying we're not including those numbers -1 and +3, because -1 and +3, it equals 0. So you don't have to draw a graph every time. I think you should, because you get an idea as to what it looks like. But if you choose not to, that's fine. And that gives you an idea. So by drawing the graph, you can say, oh, okay, this part is less than 0, this part is more than 0. And then you just follow the steps. So you're basing it on these values to be able to solve the rest of the questions. But that's the way we go about solving inequations.